Hello and welcome. You're watching Editor's Lens with me, Ina Sivaj. Pakistan is a country that its neighbors cannot trust. Like China, its ally, Pakistan is engaging in aggressive tactics and its proteges, the Taliban, have started showing their aggression. As a result, there has been intense gunfire between the Pakistan army and the Taliban in the past 48 hours. Both sides have confirmed this conflict, with the Taliban reminding Pakistan of the 1971 war and making it clear that if Pakistan doesn't comply, they will divide it into two, much like India did with Bangladesh in 1971 when Pakistan surrendered 94,000 soldiers. According to reports, gunfire has erupted along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, specifically in the contested regions of Khost province in Afghanistan and Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Both parties have suffered significant losses in this clash. Now it becomes evident that the Taliban is turning the tables on Pakistan, which has been imposing restrictions along the Afghanistan-Pakistan border and pursuing unchecked construction activities similar to China. The Taliban is not only retaliating against the misconduct of the Pakistan army but is also aiming to teach it a lesson. The Taliban has consistently refused to recognize the Durand line, which is the 2,611-kilometer long international border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. This line was drawn under an agreement between the two countries in 1893. The primary issue leading to conflict is the Durand line, which was demarcated in 1893, dividing the Pashtun tribal region to the north and Balochistan to the south. It stretches from China to Iran, passing through the tribal regions of Pakistan and Balochistan. The Durand line was initially drawn during discussions between Sir Henry Mortimer Durand, the British Foreign Secretary, and Abdul Rahman, the Afghan representative, in 1893. The line was later accepted under a treaty in 1896. It traverses through the Pashtun tribal areas and extends south between Pakistan and Balochistan. The Taliban has challenged the control of Pakistan over the Durand line, leading to tensions. Additionally, Pakistan has been forcibly evacuating Afghan citizens from its territory in an inhumane manner. It's noteworthy that Sir Henry Mortimer Durand's objective as the Foreign Secretary was to delineate the boundaries of the respective influence areas accurately. The Durand line remains a singular issue on which both the Afghan government and the Taliban share a common stance. The Taliban claims that the line has divided various ethnic groups, while Pakistan maintains a stubborn stance on the ground. Since 1947, Pakistan has considered the Durand line as its border. Following the 9/11 terrorist attacks, restrictions were imposed on the movement of ordinary people across the Durand line, causing distress among the Pashtun population. This has prompted the Taliban to issue threats to Pakistan akin to the division that occurred in 1971 when Bangladesh was created. Afghan specialist Ali Adil explains that the Durand line was imposed unilaterally, dividing the ancestral homes of Pashtun tribes between two nations. Adil argues that the 100-year agreement between British officials and Rahman, which ended in 1993, legitimized the line. Pakistan seeks global recognition of the Durand line as a permanent border, citing security and smuggling concerns. The Taliban, however, rejects the Durand line, and Sher Mohammad Abbas Tankazai, the deputy foreign minister of the Afghan government, warns of a potential division similar to 1971, declaring that they do not recognize the Durand line. Afghanistan claims that the Durand line is an imaginary boundary imposed by the British on Afghan territory. Despite Pakistan's harsh treatment of refugees, Afghanistan asserts that Pashtuns will never accept visa and passport systems to enter their own territory. Mullah Yaqub Mujahid, Afghanistan's defense minister and son of Taliban founder Mullah Omar, dismisses the Durand line as a fictitious line. The Taliban has come to understand that Pakistan has been attempting to inflict damage on their border regions. Since August 2021, there have been numerous clashes between Pakistan and the Taliban, with the majority of them occurring on the border due to alleged restrictions and construction imposed by Pakistan. Pakistan accuses Afghanistan of allowing several terrorist groups to take advantages of the open border, infiltrating its territory and carrying out attacks before retreating. In response, Pakistan aims to curb Afghan militant groups by restricting the border. Mullah Yaqub, a prominent Taliban figure, has dismissed allegations that the Taliban is harboring TTP militants in Afghanistan. He refuted claims that TTP has established a presence in Afghanistan under the Taliban's name and emphasized that if TTP is found in Afghan territory, they will launch attacks on Pakistani security checkpoints along the border. Yaqub further rejected accusations of the TTP conducting attacks within Pakistani cities and criticized Pakistan for inadequate security measures. He asserted that Pakistan, unable to defend itself against TTP attacks, tries to shift the blame onto Afghanistan. Yaqub Mujahid declared that Pakistan is incapable of safeguarding against TTP and shifts the blame to Afghanistan as a means of self-preservation. Pakistan's acting Prime Minister Anwarul Haq Kakar has commented on the clashes between the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Pakistani military, suggesting that the weapons left by United States in Afghanistan have fallen into the hands of TTP militants. Recently, TTP released a video claiming possession of high-tech weaponry, including lasers and thermal imaging systems. The ongoing conflict has led to the sealing of the border, causing laden trucks on both sides to wait for the reopening. The skirmishes have taken a toll on businesses, with significant financial losses reported for the traders on both sides of Pakistan and Afghanistan border, according to Pakistan-Afghanistan Joint Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Beyond military confrontations, tensions have spilled into the realms of sports. Afghanistan's notable victory over Pakistan during a World Cup match was marked by Afghan players refusing to shake hands with their Pakistani counterparts. The Afghan players cited their support for Afghan refugees as the reason behind their gesture. The Global Start Group in Washington has highlighted the deteriorating relations between Pakistan and the Afghan Taliban. The strained ties were evident during the unsuccessful Kabul visit of Pakistan's National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf. Following the visit, TTP carried out a series of attacks in Pakistan, with multiple soldiers reported killed. The Balochistan attack is also attributed to TTP. The Pakistani military and government have not disclosed the exact number of casualties, although media reports suggest that death toll may be as high as 192 soldiers. The TTP, an Islamic extremist group responsible for numerous deadly attacks in Pakistan since 2007, faced increased scrutiny from Pakistani military after the 2014 Peshawar Army school attack. Following this incident, the Pakistan Army took action against secure TTP locations within the country, compelling several TTP members to flee to neighboring Afghanistan. Like the Afghan Taliban, the TTP primarily consists of Pashtun members. While the extent of Taliban's influence on TTP activities remains unclear, it is acknowledged that some TTP leaders found refuge in Afghanistan after the Taliban assumed power in Kabul. In 2021, heightened TTP attacks became a serious concern for Pakistan. Islamabad had long argued that presence of foreign forces in Afghanistan had bolstered the TTP insurgency. Contrary to expectations that the Taliban's return to power in August 2021 would curb militant groups like the TTP intensified its jihadist violence within Pakistan. In 2021 alone, there was 294 attacks, marking a 56% increase since 2020, with 45 attacks occurring in December alone. The majority of attacks targeted the northwestern tribal regions and the restive southwestern province of Balochistan. Security personnel and civilians were both targeted, and at least 2 attacks specifically targeted Chinese laborers and the Chinese consulate in Pakistan, causing heightened concern for China, a major ally of Pakistan. Facing the challenges, Pakistan expressed its frustration in April 2022 by conducting airstrikes in eastern Afghan provinces, specifically targeting alleged TTP sanctuaries across the Durand line. Although Islamabad remained silent on the matter, media reports suggested a direct focus on ongoing TTP activities beyond the border. Following Pakistan's alleged airstrikes, protests erupted and residents of Afghanistan's Khost and Kunar provinces took to the streets, claiming that civilians were among the casualties of the attacks. In response, the Taliban summoned the Pakistani envoy, warning Islamabad against tolerating incursions and labeling them as aggressions. Analysts argue that the recent challenges indicate the TTP's purported expansion into Afghan Taliban controlled territories. The TTP claimed that its recent leader, Mullah Muhammad Umar, was a spiritual leader who supported their resistance against the United States and its allies. Before the establishment of the TTP in 2007, its senior commanders, including the group's first supreme leader, Baitullah Mahsoud, fought alongside the Afghan Taliban in Afghanistan. The TTP has historically sent fighters from Pakistan to join the Taliban struggle, coordinating joint attacks. However, recent shifts suggest a change in TTP's perspective. In 2018, the TTP formally abandoned its global jihadist agenda, or the Greater Jihad, focusing solely on Pakistan-centric activities. Among all Islamist groups active in the border region, TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, is considered closest to the Afghan Taliban due to their shared Pashtun ethnicity and kinship. Clearly, Islamabad has strong incentives to exert pressure on the Taliban to take action against the TTP. However, in the past year of staying in power, the Afghan Taliban appears less inclined towards Pakistan compared to their previous tenure and shows less interest in taking action at Islamabad's request. It is essential to remember that 21 years ago, the Taliban did not yield to intense international pressure by handing over their guest Osama bin Laden, violating the sacred Pashtunwali code of life. Therefore, it is unlikely that the Taliban will hand over their Pashtun brethren in the TTP to Pakistan, as maintaining Pashtun unity will be crucial for the Afghan Taliban. Although the Afghan Taliban mediated a short-term truce between the TTP and Pakistani government and facilitated peace talks between them, they maintained a neutral stance. After being ousted from power in 2001, the Taliban, seeing Pakistan's support over the past 20 years, had some hope that the Taliban government might negotiate a peace deal with the proscribed group for mutual benefits. However, the Taliban was not overly eager to create excessive pressure on TTP during its rule, as they knew that empowering the TTP could potentially align them with their adversaries, such as the Islamic State Khorasan Province, ISKP. Additionally, the Taliban understood that putting too much pressure on the TTP could be leveraged by Pakistan as a bargaining chip in their diplomatic dealings.